Good morning, and thank you all for attending today. I'd like to welcome all parents, caregivers, and members of the school community. Today's presentation will explore the importance of inclusion in education, including what inclusion means, why it is important for students, and how the policies and legislation guide inclusive practices in schools. Inclusion refers to creating environments where all students feel welcomed, valued, and supported. In a school setting, inclusion means that every student, regardless of their abilities, backgrounds, or learning needs, has the opportunity to learn alongside their peers and participate fully in school life. Inclusive education recognises that diversity is a natural part of any classroom and that all students should have equitable access to learning opportunities. It is also important to understand the difference between exclusion, segregation, and integration and inclusion. Exclusion occurs when students are prevented from accessing education. Segregation refers to educating students with disabilities in separate settings away from their peers. Integration places students with disabilities in mainstream classrooms but expects them to adjust to existing structures. In contrast, inclusion involves adapting teaching, curriculum, and learning environments to remove barriers so that all students can fully participate. Exclusive classrooms recognise that students learn in different ways and may require different levels of support. Rather than expecting all students to learn in the same way, teachers adapt their teaching strategies, classroom environments, and learning activities so every student can access learning and feel a sense of belonging. Understanding inclusion also involves recognising different ways disability has been understood in education. Historically, the medical model viewed disability as a problem within the individual that required treatment or intervention. This approach focused on adapting the student to fit existing systems rather than changing the learning environment. As a result, students with disabilities were often placed in segregated or specialised settings. In contrast, the social model of disability recognises that disability is often created by barriers within society and environments, rather than individuals' impairment. In education, these barriers might include inaccessible buildings, inflexible teaching methods, or attitudes that limit participation. More recently, the human rights model of disability has influenced inclusive education by emphasising human dignity, equality, and the right of every individual to participate fully in society. It views disability as a part of a human diversity and promotes social justice by ensuring all learners can access inclusive education. Importantly, inclusion is more than just simply placing students in the same classroom. It involves identifying and reducing barriers so that all students can participate in learning. Educational researcher Mel Ansco explains that inclusion focuses on ensuring that every learner matters in that schools work to remove barriers that may prevent students from fully participating in education. Overall, inclusive education aims to create school communities where diversity is respected and where all students feel that they belong and they are supported to achieve their potential. Inclusion is important because research shows that students with additional learning needs benefit when they learn alongside their typically developing peers. Studies have found that children with special needs often experience improved learning and developmental outcomes when support services such as specialised instruction or therapies are provided within natural learning environments where they can interact with their peers. Inclusive environment also supports the development of strong relationships between students and teachers. Positive student-teacher relationships play an important role in supporting student engagement, well-being, and academic success. When students feel supported and connected to their teachers, they are more likely to participate in learning and feel confident in their abilities. Inclusion also promotes participation and a sense of belonging within the school community. Research has shown that when students with disabilities are included in everyday school activities, they are more likely to feel valued and actively participate in both academic and social experiences at school. Importantly, inclusive education benefits all students, not only those with additional needs. Learning in inclusive environments helps students develop empathy, respect for diversity, and the ability to work collaboratively with others, which are important skills both within school and in a wider society. One of the most important pieces of legislation supporting inclusive education in Australia is the Disability Discrimination Act 1992, also referred as to the DDA. This makes it illegal to discriminate against people on the basis of disability in many areas of the public life, including education. To further support this legislation within education settings, the Disability Standards for Education 2005 were developed. These standards clarify the responsibilities of schools and education providers to ensure that students with a disability can access education on the same basis as other students. The standards require schools to make reasonable adjustments to support students with disability. This may include modifying teaching strategies, adapting learning materials, or providing additional support so that students are able to participate in learning and school activities. This legislation benefits students with disability by protecting their right to access education without discrimination. It also supports families by ensuring their children are provided with an appropriate educational opportunities, and it guides schools and teachers in creating a more inclusive learning environment. The Disability Standards for Education 2005 outline how Disability Discrimination Act should be implemented in education settings. The standards state that students with disability must be able to access education and participate in learning on the same basis as other students. The standards explain that this may require schools to make reasonable adjustments to support students' learning. According to the legislation, reasonable adjustments are necessary to ensure that a student with disability is able to participate in education on the same basis as a student without a disability. At a classroom level, this means teachers may adapt their teaching practices to meet students' individual learning needs. For example, teachers may modify learning tasks, provide additional time for assessments, or allow students to demonstrate their learning in alternative ways. Assistive technologies may also be supported learning, such as visual supports or text-to-speech programs. At a whole school level, inclusive practices involve collaboration between teachers, families, and support professionals. Schools work with parents and caregivers to understand the needs of students and ensure that appropriate supports are put in place. In Australia, schools also document the adjustments provided to students through the National Consistent Collection of Data on School Students with Disability, the NCCD, which helps track the level of support students receive. These practices help ensure that students with disability are supported to participate fully in education and experience inclusive learning environments. Another key policy supporting inclusive education in South Australia is the Children and Students with Disability Policy. This policy outlines how schools must support students with disability to access, participate in, and benefit from education on the same basis as their peers. It emphasises students' rights to equitable learning opportunities through inclusive teaching practices and appropriate adjustments. Schools are expected to consider each student's strengths, needs, and goals, creating environments where they can participate meaningfully and in both classroom activities and the wider school life. The policy also highlights the importance of belonging, ensuring students feel valued and respected and included socially and academically. A strong focus is placed on collaboration, with schools encouraged to work closely with families, caregivers, and professionals to provide effective support. Overall, this policy guides schools in creating inclusive environments where students with disability can fully engage in learning and school life. This policy implicates for both classroom practice and whole school inclusion. It highlights that schools must provide appropriate supports so students with disability can participate in education and achieve their learning goals. In the classroom, teachers play a key role by making reasonable adjustments such as modifying tasks, using visual supports, and offering alternative ways for students to show their learning. Differentiation is also important when students adapting instructions, scaffolding tasks, or allowing extra time to support diverse needs. At a whole school level, inclusion involves strong collaboration with families and support services to ensure students feel supported, valued, and able to fully participate in school life. In Australian schools, the nationally consistent collection of data on school students with disability is used to record these adjustments ranging from quality differentiated teaching to supplementary, substantial and intensive support. Thank you for all taking the time to attend this presentation today and for all your continued support in creating inclusive learning environments for all students. Inclusion plays an important role in ensuring every child feels valued, supported, and able to participate fully in their education. Thank you for listening.